What's up, horror fans? It's Danny
and Charlotte
from the Cast, and we are here talking about the biggest news in horror of this last week, and that is the return of Stranger Things for season 4. I wish you would have been able to see us the night that it came out. Both my wife Athena and Charlotte wore Stranger Things shirts. We were all very excited, So here's the way we have been handling it. If you watched Pete and Pepper, his daughter Pepper, if you've watched their episode 1 review, we are not binging through this show like crazy. First of all, the episodes are crazy long.
They're like, it's like if you watch 2 episodes of like a Nickelodeon show together.
You even said, so Charlotte and Athena have been binging through. They just finished Buffy.
And they're 42 minutes, so it's like watching 2 Buffys in a row.
Yeah.
Which was the first episode.
Yeah. The first episode, which Pete and Pepper covered, was 78 minutes, which is basically the length of a short movie. Episode 2 was, I believe, over 70 minutes, and then episode 3...
No, episode 2 was like 52 minutes.
No. Episode 2 was... No, they were all long. Episode 3 was actually the shortest, and it was an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not... So, coming straight out and telling you, we've only watched episodes 1, 2, and 3. We just, it's Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. No spoilers past 3.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about details and some spoiler stuff for episodes 2 and 3. But we are not going beyond there because we haven't. We're taking this show. We're trying to take it slow.
Yeah.
Today we have another all-day barbecue for Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So we're probably not going to watch episodes 4, maybe 5 until tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. But yes, so we're going to start by talking about episode 2 called Vecna'S Curse. Now, we were introduced to Vecna at the end of episode 1. What did you think of Vecna?
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my. It's like the most realistic creature there.
I got it.
And because it looks like a human just covered in like tentacles and things and demon tentacles.
Pete and Pepper made this point in their episode 1 review, and I thought it right away. In fact, I wrote the letters ANOES, A Nightmare on Elm Street. You get very Nightmare on Elm Street vibes from Vecna, because for the first time in 4 seasons now, you have a villain that talks to the people that it's going after. You had a Demogorgon, you had the Mind Flayer. These are just like big monsters.
Wait, what was the season 3? Oh,
the Mind Flayer again. Both. Yeah. So you had these big, giant, upside down monsters.
I know.
Now you finally have this humanoid monster that talks in this like scary deep voice, and
there's nothing creepier than a horror villain that talks.
No, that's why Freddy was always my favorite.
That's why.
What?
Victor Creel.
Oh, well, yes. We'll get to that later on. Yeah. That happens later on, and we haven't even met him yet, but we do know that. Yes. Well, what I said to you right before we started filming is even Chrissy's death that ends episode 1, which, holy hell, like, Charlotte is a lot more advanced in watching horror than Pete's daughter Pepper. Pepper is, they're basically the same age. Pepper's watched some gateway horror stuff. Charlotte is... questionable parenting on my, if you were following our channel, I'm kidding. You know that Charlotte has watched pretty much everything from The Exorcist to Texas Chainsaw Massacre to The Reanimator, which Barbara Crampton shamed us for. But she has seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and we were talking about how Chrissy's death reminded me of Tina's death at the beginning. First
Eddie Munson reminded me of the boyfriend.
Yeah, he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, he wakes up, just like kind of Eddie, comes back into the room, and there's Chrissy being possessed and then elevated off the ground by Vecna, and her bones are breaking and her eyes like burst out, And it's very similar to the way Tina was slashed and is like swinging across the ceiling bloody. And Rod in Nightmare on Elm Street just is like, I got to get the hell out of here. And he gets blamed for it, of course, just like Eddie is being blamed for it here. The biggest thing, and Mom made this point, where Stranger Things loves to keep its main characters apart for much of the season and then bring them back together towards the end for like a big team up. We saw this where they finally all meet up at the mall, Starcourt Mall in season 3.
In season 2, they all meet up at Hopper's cabin. Was it Hopper's cabin?
I believe so.
It might have been Hopper's or Joyce's cabin.
Oh, well, yeah. And then obviously season 1, it's at Joyce's house where they meet up. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about the two main sets of characters, and they separate them by thousands of miles here. So you have your California crew and you have your Hawkins crew. So who do you want to talk about first, Hawkins or California?
Hawkins, because it doesn't make me as mad.
Yes, I agree.
I like this crew.
This is we did a review of season 3, and we were not very shy by saying that our favorite group in season 3, well, in season 3, it was the Dustin, Steve, Erica, and Robin.
So technically the Russia.
Yes, where they were in like the Russian base and they were forced to work together. Here we have Max, who she knows something. She knows that something was up with Chrissy. Yes. She goes to Dustin and Robin and Steve, and it's now the 4 of them.
And then they go to that, where Max lives, that area, and they meet up with Nancy and...
But before they do that, Dustin, who's a member... Dustin and Eddie are part of the Hellfire Club, the D&D club at school. And so Dustin is able to, by basically making a bunch of phone calls and then using 1986 computers to figure out in the video store what movies people were renting, he's able to basically find where Eddie is hiding. And they go and they find Eddie, and they basically tell Eddie, look, we'll believe anything you tell us because we've been through some shit. And this is Dustin.
And Robin is like, they've been in with way more. I've been in it once.
Yeah, Robin is so cute. And by the way, it is disturbing at this point just how much, and I showed this to Charlotte, how much she looks like her mother, Uma Thurman. Especially if you followed Uma Thurman's career when Uma Thurman was like coming up to like big stardom in the early 90s. Uma Thurman? That's Robin's mother, Maya Hawke. Yeah, that's the actress. Well, Uma Thurman's ex-husband is Ethan Hawke, hence Maya Hawke. But yeah, she looks just like her mother. I'm a big Uma fan. Pulp Fiction, there you go. So yes, they find Eddie, they keep Eddie hidden, and then they go with Max to the trailer park where some creepy stuff has gone down. That's where Chrissy was killed. And
they meet up with Nancy and Fred.
Well, no, they meet up with Nancy because Fred is missing.
Fred is missing.
Fred was Nancy's like nerdy little sidekick who worked for the newspaper. He gets stalked and killed by Vecna in very similar way that Chrissy did. And
I wonder how they do that. Do they get like a dummy and like
they must?
I can't see like someone getting makeup done that looks like that.
No, but I mean, from what I've been reading, and Pete brought this up, each of these episodes apparently cost like $30 million. So they probably, like, the special effects look great. Like, and everything that has to do with Vecna has been amazing so far. Like, the scenes of him, like, getting, like, with the tentacles coming out of him and then going back into him.
I told you there were tentacles.
I am loving this villain. And that's another thing. Like we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street. So far, the victims, Chrissy and Fred, have been like, they kind of go off on their own and they enter into these like, it feels like a dream sequence. Remember Chrissy in the woods and she sees the clock everywhere, and then Fred also, he
sees
the fire, the car fire and everything. I also wanted to mention this. Now, you obviously, you're too young for this, but part of what we're seeing, you know how like everybody is going after Eddie?
Yeah.
So in the 80s, parents and a lot of parent groups and a lot of religious groups actually campaigned to take Dungeons and Dragons off the shelves and to prevent kids from playing it, because they thought that it made kids like believe in the devil and get possessed by the devil. It was actually, they had a phrase for it. It was called satanic panic, which is also a very good horror movie if you want to see it. But so I like that this season is capitalizing on that like mid-80s satanic panic thing. Could you imagine? Like, what's a game that you and your friends play? What's the game that you guys play that has like the monsters and the zombies and you're Among Us, or is that?
Well, Among Us is more like there's just this one guy who's trying to kill everyone and win.
Like, imagine if like a bunch of parents were like, we don't want our kids playing Among Us because it's going to make our kids believe in Satan and turn against their family. Like, you'd be like, you're crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, that's what the satanic panic of the 80s was. It wasn't just Dungeons and Dragons. It was also like heavy metal music. So Eddie is like public enemy number one because he's a heavy metal rocker and he plays D&D. Also, you have when we get to the trailer park in episode 2, there is a scene where Steve sees Nancy, and Nancy starts to leave and goes, okay, I'm going to go off on my own. And Steve's like, what are you doing? You can't go off on your own. We have to stick together. And at that point, I was like, I know what's going on. And I actually wrote down, and I want to show it, prediction, Steve and Nancy. So, and I said this to her.
Honestly, I wouldn't blame Nancy.
Well, it makes perfect sense because Nancy and Jonathan they're together, but they're split up because Jonathan is living in California. And we'll talk about Jonathan in a minute. I got some issues with Jonathan. Yeah. Charlotte, too. Look at her. And Steve, like the whole point of the first 2 episodes so far, Steve and Robin keep joking around that like Steve doesn't know what he looks for in a girl. He keeps going out on these dates, but none of it ever works out. So I think Steve and Nancy ending up together, kind of coming back to each other. And
then Robin's just like, I let the ladies do this.
I know. I love Robin. And Robin, of course, is, she told Steve that she's a lesbian. So she, like, has this awkward moment later on. This might even be episode 3 now. She has this awkward moment with Nancy where she's like, you know that Steve and I are, like, platonic with a capital P. Like, we're just really good friends. And, but, so this is, you mentioned Victor Creel. So while Nancy is investigating in the trailer park, Eddie's uncle mentions something about Victor Creel, who is in, we think, jail or a mental institution, but apparently he murdered his family in a very similar way to Chrissy and Fred's death years and years ago. And we looked online and when we were getting ready for season 4, and who is playing Victor Creel?
Freddy Krueger.
Well, yes.
Robert Englund.
Robert Englund, yes. So, yes. We're very excited about that. And we haven't seen Robert Englund yet. So again, we've only seen episodes 1 through 3. So, if you have watched ahead, then don't start commenting spoilers because we haven't watched that far. Shar, I think it's time we have to talk about California.
California
knows how to party. Oh, California. So we learned in episode 1 that Joyce has moved to California with Mike. No, that's not true. With Will, Jonathan, and her now adopted daughter, Jane.
Well, that's what they call her at school.
Yeah. Elle is bullied at school by this. And this is where I've had issues with a lot of the characters. I feel like there are certain characters that are just really, really 80s cliches. Like this group of bullies in California, everything about them just drives me crazy. What about you? Like, you're in school, so do you think they're...
I mean, I don't get bullied much.
Thank God. But I mean, do you think that they're realistic characters?
No. I mean, maybe for the 80s, but right now, I don't see much kids getting bullied in middle school.
It just feels so over the top. Like, you can do bullying sequences that don't feel cheap and cliche, and this just feels like... I mean, what teacher would stand in a room while you're making fun of, somebody's project while they're presenting it? I'm a teacher. If a kid if I was doing presentations and a kid was making a presentation and a kid was, openly mocking them, I'd have, that kid removed instantly. Or, I would, very quickly shut that down. And... everything about that scene, I even said to my wife, we're both teachers, I was like, I hate when TV shows make teachers look this bad. It just, I don't know.
Okay, well, we're talking a little about episode 1.
Oh, well, we had to at least bring up the bullying stuff, because then in episode 2, they get to the roller rink. Mike is now on spring break. He's flown from Indiana to California. And what happens at the roller rink?
So they bully her more. They push her into the middle, and then they throw coffee on her, and then...
I think it was chocolate.
Chocolate or coffee, and they tell the DJ to put on for the snitch Elle or Jane, and she gets super mad at them, hides in the closet. And then she gets out, since she can't use her powers, she steals a roller skate and hits her right here, like that.
Yeah, right, the bridge of the nose. I can tell you, as somebody who once walked straight into a plate glass window, and
why does that really hurt for me?
Well, if you cut this part of your nose, it's gonna bleed a lot.
So yeah,
and forever, and you're just gonna be there like this. And yeah, and then she ends up, again, I think I might be going into, we're kind of going in between episodes 2 and 3 now, talking about the same story, but...
We didn't even announce, really who the characters are. It's Elle, Mike, Will, Jonathan...
Joyce,
and Argyle.
Yeah, so Elle has been stripped of her power, but apparently she's also been stripped of any personality she had. They made a big deal in season 3 about her and Max going to the mall and learning how to do normal mall stuff. And that was a great scene where Elle, and I get that the whole point is Elle didn't have a normal childhood, obviously, and that Elle doesn't have any female friends. She just has Will, who's her age. But it just felt like a step back in a direction that maybe we would have seen 1 or 2 seasons ago. I don't know. I'm really not digging a lot of the California stuff. Will is just kind of on the periphery.
I don't like Will.
I think that they're going with the idea that Will is... And I've kind of had this idea for a few years. I think that basically Will is, at least it seems to me that they're making it that Will might be gay, and that he views his friendship with Mike as something more, and that's why he's always jealous that Mike is running off with Elle. But even that, Will just seems like he even says I feel like I'm a third wheel, and he just kind of is right now. And then there's Jonathan and Argyle.
And the first thing I said is, who the heck is Argyle?
Yeah, I've seen this actor before. I didn't write his name down, and I'm not blaming him as an actor because he's doing what the role is asking him to do. But basically, they took Jonathan, who was an incredibly likable character for 3 seasons, and they've basically given him a buddy and turned them into Cheech and Chong. And if you don't know who Cheech and Chong are, they were a group of like comedians who all they do is like smoke and get high and like go, hey man, hey, and they make like jokes like that, and that's basically all they're doing. Yeah. We've not been fans of the Jonathan Argyle stuff. It's
where did my lovable, silly and nerdy Jonathan go?
Yeah, it's very, very annoying
like
so far.
Him, like even the hair, I just immediately knew, oh gosh, that's not Jonathan. And when I was like, he does this thing with like the plants.
Yeah, well, that's a code for he smokes weed.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's just like it bothers me that they.
And his friend Argyle.
Yeah, they seemingly took these characters that have been established for 3 years, and like I get it that like they're getting older and now like they're in different parts of the country and the boys are in high school now, and
yeah, like where did
high school's different.
Does camera go?
Yeah, high school's different from junior high. Yeah, like Jonathan was like him and Nancy were like working and doing like working adult stuff, and now he's just like a stoner dude, and it's really kind of annoying. And again, if you've watched all the episodes and Jonathan has like this, arc in the show where he goes back to being like great big brother family guy.
I mean, he wasn't bad. He was trying to get Elle back too.
Yeah, so I think they might get away from that kind of stoner stuff, but it's just
of Elle.
Oh, she gets arrested.
She gets arrested
for hitting that bully girl with a skate.
Can that actually happen? Can you get arrested for hitting someone in the
So
head?
she gets arrested and like sent to juvie. And yes, like if you commit assault with a weapon, which she does, then yes, that can.
Like Kawada just did a biddy.
Yeah. I mean, also the fact that like, and again, this is me as being like a teacher. Like you have 2 police officers interrogating like a 14 to 15-year-old girl who has no legal representation and no parent around. Everything about that scene kind of irked me also. That was in, I think, episode 3. So yeah, let's move on now officially to episode 3.
Bye-bye.
So in episode 3, called The Monster and the Superhero, Paul Reiser's character, one of the doctors from season 2, he comes back.
Oh yeah,
and we find out that he has a way for Elle, that he's kind of been tracking Elle. He's the one that was responsible for them moving to California, and he... the doctor, the one with the helicopter showed up at his house. He ends up saving Elle from the ride to juvenile hall, and he actually tells her, something's going on in Hawkins. We need you. I have a way for you to get your powers back. So that's obviously going to be a big deal going forward. How is Elle going to get her powers back? Which, I'm rooting for Elle to get her powers back, but I also kind of like the idea that they have to fight against a supernatural power without just Elle doing her, Yeah, Pete and Pepper were joking around about how in episode 1, when Elle tries to use her power, and yeah,
Jellica!
Yeah. I actually wrote down, here's something we've completely not talked about, and because to me, it feels very much like an afterthought. Russia. Hopper and Russia.
Why Russia? And why are they in Alaska?
Well, because Alaska is next to Russia, and I guess that's where the prison that he's in is in Alaska. Or
I thought Alaska was in North America.
It is. It's a state, but it's all the way up next to Canada.
Oh, I know.
It's not connected to any other state in the United States.
No.
So yeah, there's this story going on where Joyce receives a package from Russia, the Soviet Union, Her and Murray contact Enzo, who's a prison guard watching over Hopper, and they get a code. Basically, they have to bring Enzo 40 grand, and if they bring 40 grand with them to Alaska, they will, Enzo will get the money, Enzo will free Hopper, Hopper will get on the plane and go home with them. I don't really know what else to say about these scenes. They feel very tacked on. It's like they, in every...
No, you can't go really wrong with Murray.
I like Murray. But, you know, like, here's my thing. Every other plot thread has moved so far from season 3. Like, you have characters living in different states. You have the kids in Hawkins have transitioned from junior high to high school. You're introducing new characters.
You keep getting a past of Max going,
Well, okay, Max having flashbacks to Billy dying, that's really the only other main connection to season 3, which is important, though. Hopper being caught in Russia makes me feel like they could have probably just either had Hopper live normally, like survive at the end of season 3 and not like get captured again.
Just die.
I loved Hopper, but maybe him dying as a hero might have been a good plot thread. Again, it just feels like it is this tertiary story. You have Hawkins with Vecna, you have California with Elle, and Mike is there now, and Jonathan and his brother. Okay, and then you have Russia and Alaska and Hopper, and it feels very, very third wheel in terms of stories.
I want to go through this chart.
Oh, I made a chart.
Love, Vecna, Hans.
Oh, no, that's just in the middle. Yeah, I basically made like a love. I didn't want to say hate, so I put love and annoyance. In other words, like things that I'm loving. So here's basically my thoughts on the show so far have been, oh my God, I love these things that are happening. And then when those things stop happening and we switch to other characters, I'm basically like, this is so annoying.
Yawn.
So basically, we've already talked about it. You know, Dustin, Max, Steve, and Robin together. Nancy and her and Robin investigating. They actually go to the library and they dig up old microfilm. Robin says, if we're looking for weird stuff, we should look at this weird magazine, The Weekly Watcher. And that's when they get information about Victor Creel. Victor Creel believed that his house was haunted and that a demon killed his family and that he was left alive to take the blame. The police obviously arrested him thinking he did it. So we're going to meet Victor Creel soon. And I'm very excited about that for obvious reasons.
Let's talk about annoyance.
Well, the annoyance we've already really talked about. Oh, so here's another storyline that we didn't talk about.
What?
Lucas.
Oh, Lucas.
And so Lucas is on the basketball team. In episode 1, he's like a bench warmer, kind of, freshman player on the basketball team, never gets to play. He gets to play in the championship game and accidentally gets the ball at the end and hits a game-winning, championship-winning shot. So now he becomes one of the cool guys on the team. The head of the team, the captain of the team, was Chrissy's boyfriend. So he organizes the team to go and hunt Eddie, who they think is responsible for killing Chrissy. So Lucas is hanging out with these bullies. What do you think of these bullies? What do you think about the basketball team characters?
I don't really like them. I mean, they're not really bullies. They're just trying to get revenge.
I know, but then they beat up Eddie's bandmates and they stepped on the guy's hand. That's kind of being a jerk and a bully. Again, I feel like I'm saying the same thing. The same thing I feel about these characters, I feel about the girls, the bullies in California, and I think about Argyle. These are 80s stereotype characters, 80s cliches that the Dupper Brothers threw in as hey, remember, the show takes place in the 80s.
Why on your chart, right next to check and Chong.
Cheech and Chong. That's what I call Jonathan and Argyle.
Why'd you put Will and Argyle?
Because I meant to write Jonathan and I wrote Will by accident. That's why.
They are brothers.
So let's get into a little bit more, and then we'll wrap this up. A little bit more about Vecna, because we find out. So Chrissy was walking out of the guidance counselor really upset. This was right after Max found her like throwing up in the bathroom. Basically, we find out through flashbacks and through Vecna's haunting of her. Do you know what bulimia is?
No.
Bulimia is when you eat and then you run to the bathroom and you throw up because you're afraid to gain weight. And remember in Chrissy's memories, her mom is like fat shaming her almost. Like her mom is like, I'm going to make this dress tighter so that you could fit in it. So I think that Chrissy was like always trying to keep her weight down because and throwing up because she didn't want to gain weight because her mom like abused her like that mentally. Obviously Max has the torment, as you said, of like watching her brother. Now, yeah,
not to be mean, but
her brother and her did not get along. You know this.
Yes.
But she still watched her brother. Like her brother ends up saving them at the end. Basically, like puts himself in front of the mind flare and dies horrifically right in front of her. So she has that memory. We see her throughout the first 3 episodes. She's popping Tylenol pills because she has a headache. She's not being able to sleep. She's being very disconnected. Like her and Lucas broke up and she like is completely disconnected from the group. She goes to the guidance counselor's house and steals her keys, and now she has the files, and she notices that we have Chrissy and Fred, the 2 victims, and now Max, all have very similar symptoms. They all have headaches, they all have nightmares, nosebleeds, and this is the important thing, past trauma. So, like, they all have this...
Wait, what did Chrissy have?
Well, she had that torment with her mother, like, forcing her to lose weight. We don't know... Oh, Fred had the car accident, and he had a scar on his face that he lived with. And now we have... And, of course, we know...
I wouldn't expect Fred to even get in a car accident. I'd expect him to, like...
He survived the accident, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was the only survivor of the car accident. That's what it made me think. Also, one of the basketball team guys got haunted by Vecna, too. Remember? Vecna and he got a nosebleed in the car.
That, the guy who was, like, playing with Lucas.
Yeah. So, there's this group of basketball bullies who are out trying to get revenge on Eddie. And Lucas, I think what we saw was Lucas tricks them and sends them to the wrong place. And then Lucas runs. And so I think Lucas is going to get back together with his group. He's going to probably find the Dustin, Max, Steve and Robin group and join up with them.
Well, maybe.
I like Lucas's story so far because it's like, you know, you're going to experience this soon when you go to high school. He's like, he has a core group of friends, but then he joins into another group of friends, and now he's like, one activity I do, Dungeons and Dragons, is considered to be like nerdy and geeky. Mm-hmm. The other activity that I do, basketball, seems to be cool. So who do I hang out with? What do I do? You know, you probably get the idea of like, it's kind of hard to like intermingle different friend groups, right? Yeah. Even though you went to the park with 2 different friends and it worked out the other day. All right. Maybe life is better in the 2020s than it was in the 80s. It's not. So yeah, the episode ends. Episode 3 ends.
Well, I was going to say run back to the Max, Dustin, Steve, and Robin group, but I was going to say maybe just Dustin, Robin, and Steve. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of season 3, wow. Episode 3, Max, while she was reading the files, heard Vecna'S voice, and then like Steve and Dustin were like, just like frozen in time. And she turns around and hears the clock ticking.
Yeah, there's definitely something with clocks, and also the guidance counselor had a big clock.
Yeah.
So are you thinking maybe the guidance counselor is evil? Not Vecna, but maybe like a human.
A human version of
What is that cat doing?
I don't know.
I started to get the hint that maybe this guidance counselor was
like
a human
helper. For
I now I could be totally wrong, and if you're watching this and you've watched the whole show and you're like, oh
sorry.
God, this guy's an idiot. Maybe, but that's the clue that I got, and I could be totally wrong. Maybe it's just a coincidence that, and the guidance counselor was needed so that they could look at her files.
I think this cat's possessed.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's Vecna. Who knows?
Nope, she's licking your butt.
What a weirdo. Okay, so that I think does it for episodes 2 and 3. Basically, Charlotte and I and Athena, my wife, her mother, I think we are all kind of on the same wavelength where we're loving parts of this show and we're loving some of our characters who we love. But then there's another set of characters that are kind of just, meh. What do you think about Eddie? Because Pete and Pepper were talking about how, like, when Eddie first debuted on episode 1, they were like, I don't really like him. He's kind of over the top. But then by the end, they really liked him.
Yeah, by the end of episode 1, I liked Eddie because he was like in the woods with Chrissy.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually being nice and
yeah, like he said, he's like, we've had other classes before.
I actually thought he was the villain in this because in the trailer, all I saw was him going like this.
Yeah.
And like him being like this cool, like evilly looking character.
Yeah, I like that he's like this kind of like this over the top crazy character at school, but then outside of school, he's like a kind of normal guy who's just he kind of knows he's an outsider. And I hope he sticks around.
If people doesn't like him.
Yeah, but like I hope he sticks around because he is friends with Dustin and Mike and Lucas, and she's the best. All right,
she's like my favorite character.
So this was episodes 2 and 3 of Stranger Things. We are filming this on Sunday morning. We're probably going to put it out to the world tomorrow, which is Memorial Day, and. Because we are off for Memorial Day, we will probably watch at least episode 4, because these episodes are long, and we will try to probably watch episodes 4 and 5. We'll definitely be done with this show by the end of the week, though, I think. We'll make time every night to watch at least one episode. So yeah, if you are taking the show slowly, like we are, tell us what you thought about episodes 2 and 3. Tell us which characters you are loving, hating, getting annoyed by. Which new characters do you like? What do you think about Jonathan's haircut? Because he reminds me a lot of a post-Terminator 2 Edward Furlong at this point. So yeah, this has been Danny.
And Charlotte.
From the Lassercast. Pete and Pepper and us, we are alternating episodes. So the next video after this one will be another Pete and Pepper episode, then it will be a Charlotte and me episode, and then all 4 of us are going to come together to review the 8-hour episode 7. No, I'm kidding. It was a joke.
Oh my god.
I will say, the episode lengths, it's a thing. It's a thing. Stranger Things is still a TV series.
Actually, how long is the last episode?
I think it's like 2.5 hours. Or it's over 90 minutes. Maybe I'm thinking about the episodes that are coming out this summer. You know how this is like season 4, part 1?
There's a season 4, part 1?
Yeah, there's more episodes coming out in July. But those are like Marvel movie length. Those are like 2 hours. Those are longer than those are like Avengers movie length. This
Endgame.
Yeah, really. I think these episodes are about anywhere from 60 to 80, 90 minutes. But still, it's like, it's a lot. You come home from work, you come home from school, you just want to sit down and watch a nice 45-minute episode of TV, and now it's like...
The Stranger Things episodes were like maybe 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's a thing. But we'll power through,
And I thought Buffy always was long.
Well, yeah, it's like watching 2 episodes. You said that. All right, guys. We will see you very soon. Next up will be Pete and Pepper talking episodes 4 and 5. And we will be back to talk about episode 6.
And then, of course, all of us will do 7.
Also, just to preview, my favorite new show, The Baby, on HBO Max, episode 6 tonight. I will have my review up tomorrow morning, so stay tuned for that. Loving that show. You don't even watch it.
Me either.
Me either?
I mean,
yes.
I don't.
So if you haven't watched The Baby, check that out. We have a ton of videos up on the channel. Go like, subscribe. We just hit 400 subscribers. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it means a lot
small.
It means a lot to Pete and I. We started this channel during the pandemic just to like kill time and talk to each other about movies, and now 400 subscribers. For us, that means something. I know, we're not professional YouTubers. We don't, we're not making money from this yet or at all, but it just means a lot that we got 400. So thank you, and we'll see you
Next
next time.